Hola, buenas noches. Me llamo David Arnold. Yo vivo desde hace 2 años en Colombia, pero soy original de Alemania. Y pues nos encontramos en ese proyecto remotamente, porque mi novia y yo estábamos como proponiendo un modelo de negocio que queríamos desarrollar en Colombia, que se trata de la manufactura de camisas como para hombres a medida. Y pues así nos pudimos a buscar y encontramos a Valentina y encontramos a Susan y Roman, el desarrollador principal del proyecto de Valentina. Y así fue como se hizo la conexión principal. Y un día Susan nos escribió: oyen, hay interactivos en Madrid, hay que aplicar ya porque el domingo a las 12 de la noche se vence el plazo. Y nos pusimos ahí a investigar y a proponer ideas, y resulta que pues ambas propuestas convencieron, y eso es como llegamos acá. Yo, ¿qué hago allá? Yo tengo una panadería de pan alemán, y al otro lado con un amigo estamos montando una empresa de software ERP basado en el software libre de Bélgica que se llama Odoo. Yo creo que algunos de ustedes de pronto ya han escuchado eso. Bueno.
Bueno, buenas noches. Como dijo mi novio, pues nosotros venimos desde Colombia. Mi nombre es Lina, soy colombiana, de pronto por el acento ya lo han podido notar. Y pues realmente la idea de nosotros nació desde una necesidad que vemos en el mercado colombiano, y pues es básicamente darle la oportunidad a la industria de evaluar otras oportunidades, de ver otras opciones, de darle otra visión y de dejar un poco de lado la compra industrial o la compra de las grandes empresas. Es como volver a adquirir el valor de la personalidad o del valor que tú le das a la ropa que fabricas o a lo que usas, de lo que quieres expresar a través de lo que vistes. Entonces, pues básicamente bajo esta idea y este valor que queremos expresar fue que nos pusimos en contacto con Susan, y pues que vimos en Valentina pues un gran desarrollo que queremos hacer para la industria en Colombia, y pues ahora a nivel mundial veremos qué pasa.
Okay, I'm Susan Spencer, and I had the pleasure of meeting these two people online, and we decided at the very last minute to come to this workshop. So David comes to this project with a very specific hard business case that is entirely defensible. It's a good business case. I come to this project with sort of a large global user base of people who have some diverse needs. So we're working out an intermediate ground as to where this project is going to go. It's rather close, but it is a discussion, and so we'll be working at that the next couple of days. But it looks good. And Lina, I guess I unfortunately don't speak Spanish, but I know. So I may say the same thing that you just said, and I apologize. So Lina is head of our fashion and non-programming track, and she's going to be helping us explore the resources available in Madrid to possibly make a garment district here that we can plug into our prototype. And David is heading up our development track, and we have Manuel here that I know is also a developer, and there are some other people that I've spoken to that were interested in being in this workshop, but I'm at this point I'm not sure who you are yet, because we haven't had our first meeting, but it looks good. We have field trips. Scheduled for us to visit independent designers and an off-site business incubator. And I think it's going to be, we also have some off-site contributors who are the developers for the Mycorrhizal software for the value-added network portion of our of the back-end process of our prototype. So we're just going to go through these slides. I'm not a designer, so I didn't try to pretend that I was. But if any of you have an interest in helping us design and brand our open fashion community portal, our websites, and software offerings, then please let me know, because we could really use some design help. Community garment production is sort of the focus of this workshop, and this boils down to, we know what we want when our clothes fit our bodies. But when we look inside ourselves, do our clothes really fit who we are? Do they fit our values? And if we realize that our clothes don't fit our values, does that bother us enough to take action? And I think it's possible for us to take action. We can have ethically made clothing, we can reduce pollution, we can at least make a stab at eliminating child labor and slave labor, the contributions to making our clothes, and we can have an opportunity to make an ethical living ourselves. I'm so sorry. Okay. So I think we can do this profitably. We can make slow fashion profitably, and it's going to take a new suite of tools. The first tool that we've developed is Valentina, in order to reduce the lead time on making custom-fit garments. We can have transparent supply chains. We can utilize sustainable fabrics. It is possible for us to exercise our voice and leverage our ethics and values in making a change in this world, a demonstrable change. And the change isn't just us in this room or people who are like us. The changes are happening throughout the globe, and that's what's making it possible for us to take action as well. Consumers are changing. They don't have to be all that aware of any sort of academic or ecological issue with any details, but there's a wave of consumers that's growing that wants slow fashion, just like they want organic food or permaculture in our agricultural methods. And I've quoted someone from San Francisco's fashion incubator who's fairly well researched and quoted in this issue, in this area. And these slides will be available online, is that correct? So we have some links so that you can do your own investigation in this area if you'd like. Fashion is changing. The fashion industry itself has taken note of what consumers want, and they want to take advantage of the new technologies that are now available, digital technologies. And the future of fashion is code, is Francis Batani's mantra. And I've taken 3 classes with Francis, and he's just an awesome guy. He made the 3D printed dress for Dita Von Teese. And he's a super fan of this project and wants me to keep him informed. So I just want you to know that there are people who appreciate this community that I've just kept him informed of what's going on here. So designers are changing. The consumers of today or tomorrow are going to choose for themselves, creating and designing their own wardrobes. And this is Ludwig Edelkort, and she's been sort of a very accurate predictor of the fashion scene for the last 30 years. And so the changing consumer is causing a change in the designers. So designing is now a partnership between the consumer and the designer. So that is a big change, and that can only be made possible through new digital interactive technologies. Textiles are changing. There's a lot of research and money going into finding ways to reduce the amount of water that is used to create textiles, the amount of chemicals that are used to process the fabrics during garment construction. There's a lot of research in this area. We could go into it, but it is a rather scary area once you start scratching the surface of what's actually in our clothing and what constitutes the second biggest polluter on the planet is the textile and garment industry, second only to the oil industry. The earth is changing. UK consumers send 30 kilograms of clothing and textiles per capita to the landfill each year. That's just the United Kingdom. And this is an incredible amount of waste. About 30% of every, like if you go into a store, like an H&M, about 30% of what you see will never be sold. Now they dispose of it in different ways. They send it to the landfill. Maybe they try to send it to a secondary market, like an outlet market. If it doesn't sell at outlets, then it gets sent to third world countries. And we're at a point now where third world countries are turning away ships filled with secondhand clothing. So this is a crisis. There's nowhere for this stuff to go. And so we have to stop producing in this way. So what is needed to accomplish change? We need to provide consumers with real choice and real data so that their ethics can actually leverage the marketplace. If they can't purchase products to express their demand, then this demand will not be expressed in the supply. We need to provide producers, the designers and the sewists, manufacturers and textile suppliers, with new tools and market power. We can't use the existing tool chain that the fashion industry uses because those tools that they use and methodologies that they use were developed just without any planning. And if you try to change a little bit of that process, the whole thing falls apart. So you have to rebuild tools so that you can profitably make small batch clothing and made-to-measure clothing. We need to create garment production communities based on collaborative shared resources because the resources required to make clothing is so expensive. We need to design tools, like hardware tools, cutting tables, things like that, that are scaled down. They're not meant to handle 100,000 items of clothing a day. They're meant to handle maybe 300. So there needs to be another design effort on that. I know some people that are working on that. David, you know some people working on that as well, don't you? Cutting. Okay, and we need to create garment production processes that allow participants to self-manage their work. When we hear about people in Rana Plaza being forced to go back into a building the day after the building had been evacuated due to huge cracks in the walls, we know that those people have no management of their own workload, that they have no management over their environment in which they conduct their work. So we want to have processes where people can say, yes, I can do this much work. I accept this much work, but more than that, I can't accept. And for this to be appropriate and for this to be built into the model, we don't want slaves. We don't want people who are just shy of being slaves, which is what most of the garment industry workers are forced to be. So in current development, the new tools that I've mentioned, right now we have a design tool called Valentina, which is for custom-made pattern making, custom-sized pattern making. In production, we are beginning to design and create a marketplace, and we've broken this development down into the back-end cloud to provide business services and the sales, the marketplace front-end website for consumers to pick the clothing that they want, for designers to upload their designs, and for this information to be funneled to the people who are going to make these clothes with the fabrics that either the designer or the consumer have selected. Right now, we've got 2 tracks at this workshop. As we said, we have the development track and we have the fashion track. And so we're going to explore resources in Madrid, we're going to meet independent designers, and we're going to feed this information back into our model. We're going to try to blog and photograph about the workshop and about this idea space. This idea is so big that it really touches on a lot of different areas: slow fashion, eco-fashion, workers' rights. And we need to educate people about how what we're doing addresses these issues. And as a bonus, we're going to learn to use Valentina pattern making software. We've just come out with a new release, which includes a new measurement capabilities and new pattern making tools. So I would love your feedback on what you think of our new user features. So again, our track number 2 is the development. Manuel and David and perhaps others will be working on developing requirements and then implementing those requirements into a prototype for us to review and post at the end of this workshop. The back-end cloud, we have 2 people off-site that have volunteered to help with that development process. It's Bob and Lynn Hauer. They've developed the Mycorrhizal Network Resource Planning software that helps us create the next economy. That's what their aim is, so that we can democratically assign profits based on actual contributions from all the members. It is not investor heavy. It's a much more responsible way to distribute wealth based on work performed and contributions given. So just to wrap up, I just think we should be the change that we wish to see in the world. We can create a sustainable future. This is going to require us to develop new tools. We can develop all the communities that we want, but we're going to have to redesign and rethink this thing from the bottom up. So small batch and custom fit clothing can be accessible and affordable, and it can be the basis for rebuilding local garment districts and reducing garment waste. That's it.
Muchísimas gracias. ¿O queréis digo para pasar preguntas o comentarios? Sí. Mira, qué bien. Así me gusta. Sí, mucho.
Thank you. Hi, I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about Valentina, the software. If you're, like, my pattern cutting skills are probably a bit rusty at this point, but there might be some people in the room who've never made a textile garment or taken it from idea of what it might look like to actually making it. Does it use printing them out and old cutting techniques, or is it using new digital fabrication, that kind of thing?
This is a good question. The Valentina pattern making software uses traditional pattern making techniques, but I think it's something that any of us can learn rather quickly. Now, of course, the advanced detail that you put into any given pattern would take a certain amount of number of hours to get to that expertise level. But I think that within just a couple of hours of introduction to it, you'd be able to just start playing with it and find the results interesting. So and we'll find out more Friday night when we have the training session for Valentina. Yes, I believe so. It should be here in the auditorium. I think it's scheduled for the auditorium. Is it? Okay. All right. The output of these files, we have 2 outputs. One is the pattern file, which contains the formulas. Then that pattern file can be generated to an image file, like an SVG or PNG. So there's 2 outputs here. There's the content, the knowledge base for that particular pattern, and then there's the image. And then you take that image and it can be sent to a plotter. You can send it to your desktop printer and then tape it together. And we're working on being able to send it directly to a cutting table. And I know that there was an open source sort of workshop a few years ago where they took a custom-sized pants pattern and sent it to a projector, and then the projector was focused on the material on a table, which is an interesting approach. And that is viable as well. We just simply haven't tested that one, but we know it can be done. Yes. Yes.
Just a comment here. You won't believe it, but this is going to be a shirt. What we have done here is just cutting with a laser cutter. So one of the benefits I see in Valentina is that it has an API interface, so we can query it for a terminated design, for a finished design, for a finished layout. We can have that in DXF. We can have that in JPEG. We can have that as PDF. So we can send it basically directly to some automated manufacturing part, because I think cutting probably is the most messiest part of making a garment, because of there are parts going around, like how you say that, those part of things, which then are everywhere, and it's also probably one of the more difficult parts.
I just wanted to add, when you were speaking about that, Print All Over Me, the American company that does digital print onto fabric, and you can upload your own designs, and there's a London base that I can't remember the name of, but it's the same thing. You can upload your digital image, and they give you, the patterns are already flattened, so you can kind of see where on the garment the image is going to be. Do you see this being something that it already feeds into, that it might be that designers no longer have to, they can have their kind of, like their garment shapes, and then they can upload them and put them onto Valentina, and then it's more about then the pattern side of it, and you have kind of like your base models, that kind of
I
stuff.
think one part is, it's even more, it's like the ad fab we saw. So you change the parametrics, and the whole pattern changes, and it will spill out just the pattern you need for your fit and for your size.
I have one last question. Sorry. In these 2 weeks, do you see a development in, if there's somebody, like if you were interested in looking at Valentina and how it works, and the limitations of that software and testing it, and how it stands up to traditional pattern making techniques? Is that part of this workshop? Are you looking just at the things that you mentioned, like the business side of it more, or is there a kind of more creative Fab Lab side to this?
If you would like to investigate that aspect of Valentina, we'd love to have you on our workshop. I can answer any questions that you have. I can demonstrate a few things to you. I brought some books in case anyone was interested. So, and we'll be making a pattern Friday night, a very simple one. But if you want to investigate this further, then I think we can arrange that.
Thank you.
I wanted to make a request if someone knows something about front-end development. As we have talked about the portal we are aiming to accomplish or to start working on. And well, we have already some ideas, but surely what's missing still is someone who really is able to put those ideas into reality, who is able to transform our ideas in kind of a platform. And as I understood it, it's an open platform, it's well documented, so it's not any kind, well, there's a business aspect behind of that, of course, a platform aspect, but as we are here and not in another place, we envision it as a kind of open platform, and if you want to say so, it's kind of an open franchise even. You can see it, you can look at it kind of at a business model and as well as a platform, which both we want to share, while being the platform, the code, the business model being the documentation behind it, how to replicate such a platform, how to replicate a local sourced garment industry model, and how to enable that. So if someone is able and knowledgeable in front-end development, please come to talk to us.
Yes, hi, I'm Zoe. So I know your project since some years, and as I've been working on Openwear, that is a platform that you used to work on collaborative clothing. So one of the main difficulties were the fact of sharing patterns. So I'm really happy that this is happening right now. In Milan, at the Makerspace, we are learning about Valentina. We did a workshop about Valentina because one of my collaborators is learning to use it and is actually collaborating to the translation in Italian of the software. So it's really nice to know that the project is going on. What my question is, so I'm not a pattern maker, so when I started using it, I had difficulties because I don't own the techniques to make pattern, so I couldn't use it as in his power, in the sense that if you know how to technically make pattern by hand, you can use it and use the power of the software. But if you start from scratch, it's really difficult, and sometimes I would have liked to have some documentation of basic schools of pattern making, also because in Italy we have many schools of pattern making. They use rules, they use different type of tools to make patterns, and sometimes they are also don't collaborate, but they fight each other for them. So I was wondering in which way you are dealing with this regarding different schools of pattern making. So this is the first question.
I think there are two parts to your question. The first part is about how to learn pattern making. It's a separate step from learning Valentina. That's correct. And then how are we going to share patterns when there are these different methods of pattern making? And let me start with the second aspect first, the different methods of pattern making. That all boils down to which measurement set you're going to use. And there are measurement sets that are so very close to each other, these different pattern making systems. I've studied over 50 different pattern making systems. So I can tell you how they can interoperate. And so at some point we need a development sprint to create a pattern share for everyone to upload their patterns so other people can download them, fork them, make their designs, put them back up for other people to download and make. These need to be organized in the basic measurement sets. So we would have a pattern share, general pattern share, and then you'd have like a tab that says, okay, give me the measurement set for Natalie Bray, or give me the measurement set for Schiel and Son, or Mueller and Son, or whatever pattern you would select your pattern system. And then it would display all the patterns on the pattern share that used the measurements that are used in that pattern system. So that's the best way to approach that. And for the training, it's like learning math and physics. You need to know the math in order to do the physics. You can learn them at the same time. But so you can learn to use the tool and pattern making at the same time. But what I intend to do Friday night is give an introductory method of making patterns using Valentina, and then we'll actually make a pattern. But prior to that, there'll be a discussion of the measurements so that there's a good grounding, a good understanding of how to get into that tool. So I do hear your pain. If you don't know how to make patterns and you're confronted with Valentina, what do? I've contracted a video company to make some really nice training for us, because I think homegrown training can sometimes miss what a normal user would see. I might not see the problem, or I might skip over a difficult way of doing things that would be the obvious way to a user, but I would know to not do it that way because it's kind of the long way. So yeah, we understand that there's a training need with Valentina. So does that answer your question?
Yes, and I added just one little bit because I think also it will be much more powerful if also you can share all and facilitate the use of school of pattern, but also the fact that you create your own methodology to create a garment that is simplified could increase the number of people participating. For example, the physically impaired people using wheelchairs, they are the one, like for 3D printers, using the prostheses. They are involved in 3D printing because they want to build their own prostheses and do it like they want. People that are physically impaired are in need to create their own garments because, no one does.
That's a great idea. I know that there are suppliers for people who can't. Most of the people who provide clothing meant for the disabled persons are people who care about disabled persons, have a loved one who is disabled, so they make their clothes for them. But approaching the disabled community, people who are disabled, as a user base, I think that's a great idea.
I believe in niche. And
Yeah.
¿Alguna? Mira, aquí está Wendy.
Yeah, so I have a question which is a problem and a solution at the same time. So, so is it the idea to centralize patterns, like really, I mean, database-wise, and the commercial aspect, which I think is a solution because then your information is in one place. But on the other hand, if you distribute the code and other people can stock patterns in other ways, and think of other ways of commercializing it. Did you think of ways to link that, or am I a step too far?
No, I think both methods are. We strove to allow both centralization, sharing of patterns, and also for people to just go make their own, and they don't have to utilize our service in any way to provide their own products. They can use Valentina to make patterns, to sell patterns, which a lot of pattern making software won't let you do. You can't sell the patterns that you make with wild ginger. You can sell the garments that you make with those patterns, but you cannot make those, so there's some restrictions. So we strove to make this as open as possible. However, there is no restriction on you to make the patterns. It's like using Inkscape. Inkscape is an open source tool. You can make artwork, designs, that are released under any open source license you want, or it can be, you can't use this is all mine. No, it's not for sale. You don't, it's totally closed. So it's up to you. It's what you make with Valentina is yours to do as you please, and you can sell it yourself on your own website. You can participate with the marketplace that we're going to try to provide. We did strive to design our process and include in our roadmap features that would enable an open system.
Hola, precioso esto de Valentina. ¿Hay sitio el viernes ¿Hay sitio para poder? Bueno, yo quería comentar un poco esto último que me has dicho en cuanto a repositorio.
I'm sorry. I need
Sí, hola. Bueno, pues que decía que esto último que has comentado acerca de cualquier posibilidad de uso o licencias con las cuales se pueden liberar cada uno de los productos que se hace, proyectos o patrones, el problema que puede haber es el que han tenido antes otros repositorios de diseños, y es el tema de las licencias. Determinados repositorios grandes que permiten obras con licencias diferentes no tienen en cuenta a veces lo que solicitan las licencias, de manera que entras en terrenos legales no andados, ¿no? Entras en lo que son lagunas legales. Por ejemplo, el caso de Thingiverse fue muy sonado cuando cambiaron la política y mucha gente malinterpretó y además se enfadó, muchos con razón, según su interpretación, porque ellos tenían que estar excluidos de determinadas licencias. Por ejemplo, una licencia de un diseño no comercial, el diseño, ¿hasta qué punto está siendo infringida si el repositorio gana dinero con publicidad dentro de él? No se sabe, no ha llegado nunca ese caso, y para que no llegue toman medidas. Entonces, este tipo de cosas lo que ocurre es que hace que tengas que pensar bien cómo va a ser el repositorio y tengas que filtrar de alguna manera ese tipo de diseños. De manera que no todo el mundo va a poder hacer lo que quieras con la licencia que quieras en un repositorio. es posible, o sea, la intención es buena, estaría bien que todo el mundo conviviera, pero legalmente puede incurrir en, pues, denuncias.
Yeah, I was just going to say that for the pattern share, I think I had a nice long talk with John Phillips, who developed the Open Clip Art website and service. And John just said, look, if they're going to upload it to a pattern share, the best thing to do is to have one license for the pattern share, and that's use it in any way you want. Yeah. But if you don't wish to put your pattern on the pattern share and you wish to handle it yourself, using Valentina does not mean that there's any obligation for you to do with your pattern anything. I mean, we're not going to try to mold you in any direction or push you in any direction with your patterns. You can do with them as you want. But again, yes, the pattern share should have one license so that it's very clear that everyone can use it.
Yo creo que en cuanto a un portal que sea replicable, hay una responsabilidad también de él que lo lanza, de que este portal sea utilizado en la manera que estamos presupuestando o que estamos envisando. Entonces ahí, digamos, el tema de la licencia de pronto todavía no es tan claro, porque digamos ya, si digamos eso ya comprende también una marca o una promesa hacia el mercado, hacia la gente que lo utiliza, tanto como los diseñadores y tanto como los clientes. Entonces, dando como proyecto Valentina una promesa tal, ya digamos la replicación de un portal tal debe por lo menos asegurar una calidad y poder utilizar una manera de, pues, más o menos local de compartir eso, de gestionar los procesos. Tendríamos que asegurarnos de alguna forma en cuanto a una fundación o algo así, de que los procesos y el resultado final realmente coinciden con la promesa que está dando el proyecto. Y yo estoy casi seguro que un simple LGPL no podía ser la forma de compartir eso, porque también se presta para ser mal utilizado o mal usado, ya que es una oferta o una idea como compleja que estamos proponiendo al abierto, al público abierto. Entonces, agradezco mucho esa intervención de la licencia, porque yo sé que ahí también se pueden encender muchas discusiones en cuanto a cómo se maneja, de qué tan libre es, de qué tanto se puede abrir esa parte y cómo se puede reglamentar el uso para también cumplir con alguna función ahí en cuanto a la gestión del proyecto.
Quizás en ese sentido hay dos referentes que podríais tomar, si acaso. Y uno, por ejemplo, podría ser RepRap, que más que una marca es un concepto claramente definido, con sus objetivos y sus pautas, aunque es muy abierto, eso no es el caso. Y otro, por ejemplo, hablando de software libre, el proyecto Debian. El proyecto Debian realmente no es una empresa, ni es una marca, pero sí es una declaración de intenciones, y hay cosas para aquellos desarrolladores, por ejemplo, que desarrollan para Debian, que tienen que tener muy claras. De manera que qué paquetes, aunque siempre vas a tener esa libertad, de manera desde la casa madre, desde lo que es el repositorio de desarrollo, vas a obtener siempre una distribución que cumple todas y cada uno de los puntos que tienen fijados como declaración de intenciones. Puedas añadir luego otro tipo de paquetes o no, ya es opción tuya, de cada uno de los demás, pero de partida lo que surge de ahí es, no obstante, el terreno de la libertad siempre puede llevarte al libertinaje, eso está claro, eso sí.
¿Tú tienes algún ejemplo o como una plantilla de una licencia que se podía utilizar? ¿O el caso de Debian sería el que me toca estudiar más profundo?
No, básicamente Debian se basa en las GPLs y las diferencias, las licencias GPLs, pero a lo que yo me refería, ya no solamente a la licencia, sino como Valentina, como declaración de intenciones, como puede tener detrás o no un órgano que vele por que los objetivos se cumplan en todos y cada uno de los diseños que se van a hacer con ese entorno, pues he pensado en Debian. Debian realmente no es ni empresa, pero sí es un concepto y es software libre. Por ejemplo, ellos declaran que no se puede utilizar para guerra. Esto va en contra un poco con la propia GPL cuando te dice que no se puede limitar el uso porque tienes derecho a usarlo a lo que te dé la gana. Pero bueno, si quieres hacerlo, te puedes hacerlo, pero te puedes ir a otro sitio, pero no usas Debian o no utilizas como distribución Debian y utilizas otras. No, eso es complejo, es muy complejo.
¿Alguna cosita por aquí? ¿Pregunta? ¿Reflexión? ¿Sí? Vamos, sí. De todas maneras, seguimos mañana a las 10:30 aquí de nuevo para hacerle el segundo día del seminario. Y empezaremos con nuestro amigo Josian sobre el comunismo, que me encanta, que nos lo explicará mañana. Y nada, muchísimas gracias por estar hasta aquí, hasta ahora. Y nada, mañana a las 10:30 nos encontramos de nuevo aquí en Medialab. Gracias.